What's up, cryptoverse? You're tuned into another production with Bitfolio Media where we listen, learn, and adopt everything cryptocurrency. I'm your host, Willie Crypto. I'll be joined by my correspondent, Richard Scott of Rich Gets It. We'll be right back. And we're back, Cryptoverse, and I'm joined by my correspondent, Richard Scott of Rich Gets It. What's up, man?
Hey, man, how you doing? I'm glad to be here.
I'm good, man. Hey, by the way, that was a great presentation that you put on the other day. For all you guys that don't know, we're out of Atlanta, and Richard Scott blessed the technology of color. Put a wonderful presentation on in regards to talking about smart contracts and decentralized autonomous organizations, which we'll talk about down the road. But I myself, I've been in this space for a couple years, and I'm always learning something new from this guy right here. So we're just going to give some introductions on how we even got interested in the Bitcoin space and where we're headed. So Rich, share with all of the viewers, how did you even get started in the Bitcoin?
Just a general interest in technology itself. Years ago, there was a technology called Hashcash, and it solved a lot of problems or had a lot of promise with digital money, but it did not solve this problem of double spend or duplication or counterfeiting. So I did, I was interested then, and then after that kind of the hack happened, kind of lost interest in it because I lost hope in it. But with the advent of Bitcoin, the Satoshi white paper, and the launch of the Bitcoin network just kind of reinvigorated my interest in it as a whole.
That's beautiful. I myself, again, my name is Willie Crypto. I pretty much got started in Bitcoin and knowing about the technology back in 2013. I was introduced to it on a actual money map press from a gentleman named Michael Robinson because I'm into finance. I've been a professional trader. I've been into real estate. So I'm always looking for the latest and greatest. So when I first read about the technology, I was just amazed and said, man, this is something that could actually change the world. But people who know me on a personal level know that I'm a calculated risk taker. So when I went out into the community and I actually asked people, hey, there's this new technology that's coming out, called Bitcoin, man, we need to start investing to it. Like my personal friends, they would just laugh at me and basically thought that I was pretty much smoking crack, to be honest with you. And I was starting to question myself because I looked myself in the mirror. I said, man, am I going crazy or something? Like, they're talking about this digital money. I don't even think it's maybe possible. So I just let it go and I didn't even deal with it. But up until a couple years ago, when it started to gain a lot of recognition, me and one of my other correspondents, Thomas Barnes out of Chicago, we started to dive real deep into the technology. And ever since, this space has literally reminded me of my childhood when I heard my first hip hop song. I can't get enough of it. I used to play, professional basketball. I played basketball in college, and it's just one of those things where it's just 24/7. I eat, sleep, and drink it. So,
Cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
So, next question that I would have is, so we're into this space. There's a lot of unknowns. It's a lot of uncharted territory on what can Bitcoin do for us as everyday money. Is it gold? Is it a store of value? Is it a medium of exchange? What is your analysis of it?
I looked at it as, I first looked at it, and what had me interested in it was programmable money.
Okay.
It was money that you could take and with your programming skills and make it do different things like pay out at a certain time or pay back in at a certain time or go pay based on conditions like at a certain IP address. It could pay. Originally, when I really started getting interested in Bitcoin, I thought that it would only go as far as being able to do things like pay you if you won like a game, a video game or online game, and things like that. So I saw that was pretty cool because that was around the advent of with the evolution of a lot of video game tournaments and things like that. So I was like, wow, that would be cool to be able to go to a video game tournament, win all of this money, and have it on your hard drive and go home. So it's just sort of like, going and winning the lottery, but you don't have to get the check or you don't have to go put it in a bank. You have it with you all the time. So that was what I was interested in. That's what excited me about it. And I didn't really start thinking about it as real money until non-computer people started thinking about it or being interested in Bitcoin. And that's kind of funny, but is because I never really thought about finance in the traditional sense with stocks and things like that until I had to learn it because people were using those terms as applied to crypto and Bitcoin itself. So I had to kind of like expand my skill level at least to get a working knowledge of some of the finance terms and things like that.
Sure.
In order to understand this, because it was like now it was like it wasn't just for the hackers anymore. So everybody else was coming in. So we have to be able to talk people's language. That's why I'm glad when me and you hooked up.
Yep.
It said, "Oh, this is what I've been waiting on. I know this technology stuff. Will knows all of this investment stuff." Because what I used to get a lot is people would say, ask me about Bitcoin as an investment, Bitcoin the price, and I was just like, I do not know. I mean, I said the most that I really would invest on my end, my investment scheme would be probably described as cost dollar averaging.
Sure.
And I would just like pay a little bit, or I would like go get the change jar off of my desk, whatever I had in there, I'm gonna put it in crypto. So it was just that. So it wasn't a lot I wasn't looking at charts, looking at all of this stuff, looking at the technical analysis of how markets move.
Yep.
But so that's why I was glad me and you hooked up, because I know you
Absolutely.
can tell me about the investment stuff, and
Yep.
we can just merge this technology and investment together, and then give it out to everybody out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, the investment side, the one thing that everybody has converged in on this space is we're all here to make money. That's obviously. But the one thing that I've learned as I continue to study Bitcoin, it's so much more than just money. And I'm just going through, personal experiences. Basically, like when the bank crisis happened back in 2008. I was one of the guys, up in on the south side of Chicago. I got pretty hit hard, with the real estate crisis. And one of the things that I couldn't understand for the life of me is one day I just went to go to my ATM just to debit some money out, and the next thing you know, my assets are frozen. And it happened to me time and time and time again, just for, I didn't realize that the bank could actually freeze your assets, and they had a policing authority to do things like that. And I said, something's got to be done about this because this is just wrong. So when I think about Bitcoin, I think of it way more than just money. I look at it as this is a redistribution of wealth, and the fact that this is an awakening, because people like myself, we got upset back in 2009. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned the 2007, 2008 crisis, because the Satoshi white paper was written for like around 2009, and then released, the network went on about 2010. If you look at one of the first Bitcoin transactions, there's a reference to a article that talked about the 2007, 2008, the real estate crash, the Great Recession. I don't know what they're calling it now. So his Bitcoin was actually his response to the same thing that was affecting you, me, everyone else. And I was like moved by it, because I realized like the majority of the middle class, their wealth was in their houses, their homes.
Yep.
And so I was just like, well, why can this happen? And then when the bailouts came, it was only for the bankers, and then no one went to jail. Bernie Madoff did, but they just like singled him out. But no one else went to jail for the things that they did, which was rolling the dice with our mortgages. And so now it's time to take the power of purchasing power, or all of our financial power, out of this triangle, this pyramid, and flatten it down and give the power back to us. And we definitely want to start talking about money as freedom, as in free speech and expression, and money as individual collective power.
Sure. Yep. So now, in real time, the big question is, and it's like the elephant in the room that everybody wants to know, where is Bitcoin headed? Because we've all known for some time, we've talked about this on a number of occasions, the scalability of Bitcoin. We haven't even achieved mass adoption yet. We're still somewhere maybe at like 3% of the market globally that's entering into the Bitcoin space. So one of the issues that continues to come up, especially when you're talking about hard forking, is where are we headed? Is Bitcoin going to be the coin that we will use in the future, or do you think it'll be some other coin?
For the short term future, I think Bitcoin is going to be the standard. It was first to market, so people have an emotional connection to Bitcoin. I know I do. I remember if you looked on CoinMarketCap, when Bitcoin was like you look up and see what market share it had. I remember it was like 83, and when it dropped down to like into the 40s, I was like, no, no, no. But it still has the mind share, and that's the big thing, the mind share. So Bitcoin is going to be the standard. But yes, we do have the technical issues as far as like transactions per second, as opposed to your traditional credit card transactions per second with like Visa, which do about maybe 47,000 transactions a second, where if you average out the transactions that you would get into a 10-minute block on Bitcoin, it'd probably be about 7 transactions per second. So we know that that can't even compete with what the mass is accustomed to.
Sure.
We're used to going swiping and now putting our little chip into the machine,
Yep.
and it confirming right there. That the scalability of Bitcoin has been like this major contention. It's caused at least 2 hard forks, and we'll talk about what a hard fork is. The most recent was back on August 1st of 2017, where we had the split of the Bitcoin blockchain, and now we have Bitcoin Cash and the traditional Bitcoin. I would say don't worry about scalability, because I remember back when we first had email, and then people wanted to attach things to email messages, and no one wanted to say, no, you can't attach pictures, because why? Well, the network can't handle it. It won't scale. Yeah, email scale, and so then people talked about, when you start talking about the World Wide Web,
Yep.
the internet cannot handle the World Wide Web. It can't scale. It's scaled. Everyone has a website now. Then when you start talking about YouTube and video, oh, it can't scale. It can't scale. The network can't handle video. Well, this video disproves that. So it's gonna scale. So how it's gonna scale, I don't know. Do we go Bitcoin Cash way with 8 megabyte blocks and we try to get bigger and bigger blocks? Or do we go to the Lightning Network, where we can go build payment channels and do almost, probably in theory, unlimited transactions per second?
Wow.
So, but we'll get into that stuff.
Yep. So a lot of the other questions that I get from a lot of viewers and a lot of friends and family is like, okay, Will, I got this Bitcoin, what can we do with it? And my first response is, don't do anything. You hold it and you store it, because the price is going to continue to go up. But at some point, when we're headed, like in 2018, when Wall Street's going to start getting more involved, we're going to have to figure out ways to where we're going to be able to use these currencies as everyday money. What are your thoughts on that? Because me personally, I don't know if Bitcoin will be the coin that we'll use as everyday money, because I look at it as digital gold. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like that analogy of gold, because I was just going to say, like, if you were to give, it's sort of like collecting real coins. Like, I have like coins, like coins, like $50 and things like that. So I collect them, and you collect them because you know that there's two values in those. It's the value of it as a collectible, when the coin was stamped, and what year it was and things like that. But there's also the actual value of the metal that's in the coin, whether it's silver, gold, or mixture of both. So yes, you take those and you can just set them aside and just let the value increase. Bitcoin, I would say that's the same thing. And the reason why that is because a lot of times what we're doing is we're acquiring these Bitcoin and we're learning about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So take that time to buy, hold, learn. And then when we get to mass adoption, where you can use Bitcoin through things like paying your rent, a mortgage, paying your electricity, going to buy food, when you can use Bitcoin as easily as you can use your credit card, then start spending.
Yep. So that segues into the next question that I had for you, is because, like I said, some of the other questions that I get, okay, so we know that, Bitcoin is a store of value or what have not, but if we're sitting here and we're trying to hold it and use it as a financial instrument, as an investment, what about the day comes, when we want to pay our bills and we want to, pay for our mortgages, pay our car notes, things of that nature, and on-ramp and off-ramp in regards to debit cards. So one of the things that, I've been really researching is there's starting to be that cards that are popping up that you can off-ramp and convert it back into fiat. We're just not there yet. So I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on into the future. Do you see a day that we won't need even an exchange like a MasterCard or Visa logo? Because that's one of the big topics that's come out.
Yeah, because that's marketing. I mean, that's marketing, and marketing is mind share. So once we let people know, I mean, you've seen it. You've seen me do a Bitcoin transaction, and then when people see it, a peer-to-peer transaction on Bitcoin, where all you have to do is go from your phone to someone else's phone, a little light will pop off, and you'll be like, wow. And you'll know that what you just witnessed is the future. And so once we can do that to buy, a carton of eggs, a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, then we will have reached mass adoption and mass acceptance. So you won't even have to have the logo on there. You won't have to. I mean, remember when credit cards first started becoming mainstream? It was like, we accept Visa. They got all the little stickers. We accept credit cards here. We accept this. All of those things, And so it'll be the same thing, but it'll be like a quiet revolution.
Yep.
It'll be people who's like, well, they will have already been doing peer-to-peer transactions with family members, friends, and so forth. And then when they see I accept Bitcoin on their local at their local grocery store, they'll be rushing to take their phones out and buy their groceries with it, just for the novelty of it, so they can say, I bought my first loaf of bread with Bitcoin on this day.
Yep, and I totally agree, and I just can't wait till that day comes. I am so antsy about it because, like I said, I'll keep some of my bill money in a bank account, but I'm already practicing for that day to where we can actually say we have our own bank. One of the platforms that I use is BitShares. It's one of the world's first decentralized on-banking financial services platforms. And one of the things, the unique service offerings that they have is, when you spoke about earlier about paying bills, you can actually give your bill online pay their own private keys, and they could have just one account in regards to coming in and taking out their monthly bill payments.
Cool.
We just haven't reached the point yet where we can on-ramp and off-ramp and convert those BitShares or BitUSD back into US dollars. So that's good stuff. So we'll be back on a short break.